distribute and combine. So in this video, we're going to use an earlier concept that we learned about distributive property, and we're going to use that as the first step before we go ahead and solve like we did in the last video. So if we have 33 minus 30m, which is equal to, in parentheses, 9 plus 6m, with 2 on the outside. So our first step is going to take this 2, and we're going to distribute it. Go 2 times 9, and then we're going to go 2 times 6m. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and just keep the left-hand side the same. Now we have 2 times 9. Well, that's 18. 2 times 6 is 12, and then it's just plus 12m, right? We just go ahead and go 2 times 6, right? And we just leave the m there. So now this is just like the last video, and we can go ahead and solve. So my first step will be to get rid of the m on the left-hand side. So we're going to go ahead and add 3m to both sides. Right, so it gets rid of it on the left-hand side because we just removed it to make it equal to 0. But we had to do something with it, so we put it on the right-hand side, right? Because whatever we did on the left-hand side, we have to do to the right to make the equal sign and the equation true. So now we have 33 plus 0, so just 33, is equal to 18. So now 12m plus 3m, well, that's 15m. Now, what's our next step? Well, our next step will be to get rid of this 18 here, because we want to get m by itself. And so if we just go ahead and subtract on both sides, this 18, so that's just 0, so we can just leave it as 15m, which is equal to, on the left-hand side, now 33 minus 18 is going to be 15. And then, if we just go ahead and divide by 15 on both sides, the reason we do that is this just becomes 1, so we're left with just m on the right-hand side, and we'll go 15 divided by 15, that's 1. So m is equal to 1. So that means we can go ahead and plug in m as 1, and this equal sign will have the same number on the left and the right-hand side to make the equation true. So let's go over the last example. So example 2, we're going to solve for v in the equation below. So this one has 2 things where we have to go ahead and distribute, right? So we have this first one, right? This 2, we need to distribute with this 1 and this minus 3v, and that's equal to 6. 2v minus 6, parentheses closed, plus 2. So our first step, we go ahead and multiply that 2, like we said. Right, and then on the right-hand side, we're going to multiply this 6 times these two numbers inside the parentheses, right? And then we just have this plus 2 that we'll deal with here later. So let's go ahead and start on the left. 2 times 1, that's 2. 2 times negative 3 is minus 6, and we have a v, which is equal to now 6 times 2v, right? 6 times 2, well, that's 12v. 6 times negative 6 is minus 36, right? Because there's one negative. So it means the whole number is negative, or we can leave the subtraction sign there. So we have minus 36, and then we have plus 2. So the first step we're actually going to do first in this next line is we're going to combine these two numbers, because we can combine like terms essentially on the right-hand side of the equal sign. So we're going to keep it like this. We have 12b, now minus 36 plus 2, well, that's minus 34 now. And then we can go ahead and solve. So if you want to go ahead and move this 12b on both sides, right, we can go minus 12b on both sides. This gets rid of it on the right-hand side. We have an equal. This is 0. And then minus 34 on the right-hand side. The left-hand side, we have minus 6b minus 12b. Well, that's negative 18b. Remember, you can always get your calculator out if you're unsure of anything, right? And then we just bring down the 2. when I say calculator, you can go minus 6, minus 12. And that would get us to minus 18, right? Then our next step will be to get this b right closer to being by itself. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 2 on both sides. So on the left-hand side, we're just left with minus 18b, or negative 18b, and then 0 minus 34 is just minus 34. But then we have minus 34 minus 2. Well, that would be minus 36. Now, in order to undo multiplication, we go minus 18. We're going to divide it on both sides. So minus 18 divided by minus 18, well, that's just equal to 1b. So just b minus 36 divided by negative 18, well, that's just positive 2. Or we could just leave it as 2. But that would be our solution.